We are now live.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Vice Mayor Kilgore and Chair of the Board of Commissions Committee, and I'd like to welcome you to the February 14th, 2023 remote meeting. All council committee members and staff are participating virtually. To help our audience follow along, I'll state each section of the agenda aloud. We are streaming live on the Virtual Engagement Hub, which is accessible through the Virtual Engagement Hub link on the front page of the city website. We also have an option for public to listen by phone. For those of you out there with us today, we'd like to welcome you. For today's meeting, we have the option for all people in the call to call in and comment live during the meeting. To call in and comment live, use the same number, 855-925-2801, meeting code 9478. Your phone will be muted and you will hear the meeting live. At this point, speakers will need to push the *3 to enter into the speaker queue. Now I'd like to do the roll call. I will go through and introduce the committee members and staff who are participating virtually. Council and staff, I'd like for you to say a quick hello when I announce your name. Councilwoman Antoinette Mosley.
Hello.
Councilwoman Kim Rooney.
Good afternoon.
Assistant City Manager Ben Woody.
Hello, good afternoon.
Deputy City Clerk Sarah Gross.
Hello.
Assistant Clerk. She's not with us today. Okay, so we'll have Bridget Herring, Sustainability Director.
Good afternoon, everyone.
And also joining us is Tim Orman, Chairman of Sustainability Advisory Committee on Energy and Environment.
Good afternoon.
And first, we'd like to open the meeting with the approval of January 10th, 2023 minutes. Can I get a motion?
Move that minute. I'll second.
Okay, thank you. So now we'll do a roll call. And Councilwoman Mosley.
Aye.
Councilwoman Rooney.
Aye.
And myself, Kilgore, aye. Okay, at this time, I'd like to check and see if there's any, do we have anyone in the queue for public comment?
No callers in the queue.
Okay, so we do not have any callers. We'll move on to the new business. And at this time, we'd like to actually present the board appointments and vacancies. And first of all, we have the Asheville Area Riverfront Development Commission. We have 2 vacancies. And this must be a district business or property owners for this particular position. And the chair recommends appointment of Joe Falcon for appointment for the business owner seat, and recommends collecting additional applications and postponing the second appointment, which must be a district business or a district property owner. Can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
So roll call. Councilwoman Mosley.
Aye.
Councilwoman Rooney.
Aye.
And myself, Councilwoman Kilgore, aye. For the audit committee, we did not receive any applications, so that will be re-advertised. And for the design review committee, the chair and staff liaison both recommends the appointment of Michael McDonald. Can I get a motion?
So moved. Second, and if we might have a moment for a question. It seemed to me in the attached documents that we have more than one vacancy. Is that the case? It looks like there are 3 spots that say vacant. So are we expecting additional appointments, or maybe from
And the design review committee?
unless I'm seeing something different, maybe we should make sure for the future board and commission meetings that that's fully seated.
Yes, I can look into that right now as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Okay. And for the Downtown Commission, the chair and the staff liaison recommends extending the advertising to get more applicants. Is that so? It's
We could, my
Oh,
suggestion.
I don't know. Do we need to vote on that?
Yeah, we need to vote on that one, and we could answer the question that I had at another date. I just wanted to make sure if we do have other vacancies that we're prepared for the next agenda.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Is this Sarah? This is for the design committee. Okay. So now we're talking about the Downtown Commission. And basically what they did is recommended the application period get extended. And I'd just like to know if we have a motion to re-advertise for this position.
Vice Mayor Kilgore, for point of order, could we go back and I do realize I asked a question. We had a motion and second for design review. Should we move forward with a vote? I'm prepared to support. We made a motion to approve or to recommend Michael McDonald.
Yes, yes. Okay. So we get a motion and second, so I could do a roll call for that. So
Aye.
the Councilwoman, okay, Councilwoman Rowley.
Aye.
And aye. Thank you, Kim, for that. Appreciate it.
With regards to the Downtown Commission, do we necessarily need to vote to extend? I don't think so.
Not for reposting.
Yes. So,
Okay, thank you. Now, the thing is, we do have 2 applicants for that position, and I just wanted to make sure that none of the council members were interested in putting those forward. Not this
I
one.
think we had some strong applicants. I think I noticed Bill's application from Urban 3. And we often have fantastic applicants for our advisory boards, and also an opportunity to and bring more people to the table through increasing the length of the invitation. So I do support the recommendation of the advisory board and staff to do so.
Thank you. Okay. Can I get a motion for that?
Because we're extending the application period, my recommendation would be, as Councilman Mosley noted earlier, that we don't have to motion or vote to extend that invitation, but that it will be on our next agenda is what I would anticipate.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. So for the Homeless Initiative Advisory Committee, the board chair and the staff liaison recommends postponing that appointment also. So can I get a motion?
do you need a?
Do I need a motion for this if they don't post?
I don't think we need a motion either. And I'm in agreement. Also, I'm in agreement with it in case you wanted to have discussion, but I don't believe we need a motion.
Okay.
So I think as procedurally, what we've done in the past is if there aren't applications or we're pursuing some specific experience or we're going to leave the application process open, then we don't make a motion, because our motions around these recommendations are when we have applicants that we think the council should appoint.
Thank you.
Otherwise, we could just make a note that we're going to pursue additional applications. And we can also, this is a great opportunity to invite people to apply to our advisory boards.
Thank you. Okay, and the Multimodal Transportation Committee, we basically have no recommendations received, so we'll move on to the Neighborhood Advisory Committee. We have 2 vacancies, and the chair recommends the appointment of Michael Fulbright and Jackie Smith. Can I get a motion and a second for this?
So moved.
Second?
I would make a second for Fulbright, and I believe it may be Jake Smith.
Jake Smith, okay, thank you. Okay, so roll call, Antoinette Mosley,
Aye.
Kim Mooney,
Aye.
Councilman Rowley, and myself, Councilwoman Kilgore, aye. Okay, we have a Cam Roney, raise your hand, please.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Kilgore. So I wanted to take a moment to go back to, we didn't have a recommendation for the Multimodal Transportation Commission, but we do have, it looks like, 5 applicants. And in reviewing those applications, I realized that some of the applications have been in the queue for a little while. For example, Elise Martyr is on the Neighborhood Advisory Committee now, which is one of the 3 boards that Elise was interested in serving on. We also have a Multimodal Transportation Commission representative that's a non-voting member of the Neighborhood Advisory Committee. So that way you have that connection between neighborhoods and multimodal. And right now, Neighborhood Advisory Committee already has that connecting point, but I wondered if Elise is still interested in being on the multimodal as a fully voting member and therefore serving on 2 boards, or if that might mean that Elise doesn't have to be appointed to the multimodal, which was Elise's first choice, top priority, but could instead actually be the Neighborhood Advisory liaison. So as the liaison to Neighborhood Advisory Committee, I'm committed to following up with Elise just to see what the logistics are and if Elizabeth Lycus-Worrell is interested, or maybe they want to be able to pass that baton at some point from neighborhood to that role. That might give us a better picture when we come to our next Boards and Commissions Committee meeting on which vacancies we have and who's willing to be in that position.
Okay, thank you very much, Kim. Appreciate you following up on that. At this time, we do have a presentation from the Sustainability Advisory Committee and Energy Environment. We have Tim Orman, who will be doing that presentation this morning.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. And it's not quite a presentation, it's more of a summary of a proposed resolution, just to keep it simple. In the evolution of SACE, the Sustainability Advisory Committee on Energy and the Environment, there have been some changes over the many years it's been in existence. And one of the changes that we're requesting is to have all of our appointments be at-large appointments so that we can focus on particular target issues and with the appropriate expertise. So previously, there were requirements of somebody being employed in real estate development or the construction industry. Currently, we don't have those qualifications on the board, but we do have other qualified members that are well suited to the working groups that we have. So that's the first aspect, is to have all of our appointments at large to give more flexibility. And then the second is just a simplification of our committee name from Sustainability Advisory Committee on Energy and the Environment to simply Sustainability Advisory Committee. And we think that that is helpful in that it broadens our scope. Some of our issues, say with regard to community resilience, are kind of maybe broadened beyond just energy and the environment. So those are the 2 requests in this resolution, and I'd be happy to respond to any questions you have. Councilwoman Roney.
Thank you. So I will say, though a name change is appreciated and this broadened scope is certainly understood, over the years, I have appreciated that the SACE name has made me have to think every single time about energy and the environment. So the complexity has required me to focus. I wonder if that has had the same effect for our community. Can you speak a little bit more to the areas of the scope that maybe you feel like SACE hasn't yet been able to do that in-reach or outreach around, and what we could expect to see on future work plans because of the broadened scope? Do you have a picture of that yet, or maybe in the future?
So currently we have 3 working groups, each with 3 members of SACE. One of the new ones that we're excited about is a stormwater and green infrastructure working group. The second one we're calling community resilience. Then the third is energy and carbon. And so the one particularly that's community resilience doesn't necessarily fall in the categories strictly of energy and environment, although it's all connected, of course. So that's where we are now. In the future, I guess, who knows? We do think that there'll be more focus on resilience in general, especially with regard to climate change. And so this was kind of maybe a 2-for-1 resolution, since we're already going to request about the at-large appointments. We thought might be also beneficial just to simplify the name. But I do appreciate what you shared, and it does help to think through what does this actually mean, because sustainability can be just a buzzword.
Thank you for that answer. I really appreciate that. So I wonder, now that there's going to be a specific subgroup around stormwater, we have some regional stormwater activity groups happening and forming that are looser. We have a stormwater recommendation that it's kind of seen that work is maybe at a finished place, but we definitely know that it needs some action points and revisiting. Has there been some outreach from the SACE group as you're forming this stormwater work group to be able to do outreach in the community that's already had some of that work established? Will you be working with the documentation that's already available, or is there a goal to start fresh from where we are now and create a new work plan around it?
That's a great question, or a great series of questions. We definitely want to build on the history of what's been done, what's been successful, and what remains undone. We understand there was a stormwater task force that had some good momentum and ideas. I don't think it really had maybe the ability to carry out the recommended actions. There is currently as you know, a stormwater utility fee study, and we intend for that to be one of our main priorities, is to provide input and help on that. There's also currently some collaboration happening with the Riverfront Redevelopment Commission, and we're in the process of forming a joint stormwater green infrastructure task force, with our first meeting scheduled for next week. So yeah, we don't want to do anything in a silo. We want to connect with all of the other good efforts that have been done and are being done.
Thank you so much, Tim. I am prepared to support with a motion when we're ready.
Okay. Can I get so you'd like to make that motion, Kim?
I would make a move, or I move to recommend that we accept the recommendations, both on changing the membership categories of the committee to at-large and the name change to Sustainability Advisory Committee.
I'll second.
Okay, so we'll do a vote. Councilwoman Mosley,
Aye.
Councilwoman Rooney,
Aye.
and myself is aye.
Thank you very much, and
Thank you, Tim.
happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Yeah, that's true. Thanks. And now we'd like to move on to our quarterly appointment, a proposal, and that will be done by Sarah. Sarah Gross.
Thank you. I'm going to get ready to share my screen here. One moment. All right. So hello, everybody. I am Sarah Gross. I'm the deputy clerk. Jerry and I work closely on this, preparing this. Unfortunately, she couldn't be with us today, but please know that she was a big part in pulling all this together. All right, so what it is, the clerk's office, we are proposing that we move the boards and commissions appointments from currently monthly to a quarterly process. The purpose, we've heard this feedback from board chairs and boards, but also just in an evaluation of our current processes within the clerk's office. It is our hope that this proposal would provide for a more efficient and hopefully effective program, but also build in some more time for the board chairs and boards to make thoughtful recommendations to this committee. And also with the time built in, we do hope to, for the opportunity to build on more robust training and expand our outreach. So more on that to come. This first meeting, introducing the idea, we're not looking to make any action, but we do want to get your feedback with the hopes of bringing it back at our March meeting for a vote of support if we're there. And then next, I want to just note that we did do an equity and inclusion assessment and nothing surfaced. So just starting off. All right, looking at our current process, where we're at right now, as this committee is very aware, we do, the council conducts appointments every month. This allows for roughly 2 weeks of advertising the board vacancies and 3 to 4 days for board chairs, and if the time allows, for the full committee to make a recommendation that comes to this council committee and then to council for appointments. It is a quick turnaround also for the administrative side, compiling and processing all the applications. So, and currently where we're at, we are seeing an increased number in resignation as well as a decreased number in applications. So hoping to improve upon that. What we are proposing, what that would look like, again, going from monthly appointments to quarterly, we're looking at potentially, and this is tentative, making appointments in January, April, July, October. We do anticipate that there may be some exceptions, including our state mandated boards, looking at their state mandated legislation, but also quasi-judicial boards and urgent appointments that may come up as necessary. So it's not hard and fast, but we'd like to stick to the quarterly. And also in your attached documents, there is a proposed timeline, again, very tentative, but wanted to have a visual of how things could fall as far as deadlines and the timelines for the various boards. Additionally, on those off months, we would hope and propose to do a more robust and regularly scheduled trainings for new board members. So what that could look like if we have a cohort of new members in January, holding a new member orientation or training in the following month during that span. So again, we kind of create a cohort of new members who go through the process together. And then likewise, hope to expand our outreach, really take the time to look at hard to fill seats and do more targeted and expand the outreach there. So proposed timeline. Again, this meeting, we are proposing the ideal, looking for some feedback from the committee. And then in March, we hope to come back with any kind of revisions that we might talk about today, or even that we hear from board chairs, board members, and stakeholders in the next month or so, to come back to this committee for a vote of support. This does not need to go to the full council because it is more or less operational. But we did think it was very important for this committee to approve or support what would be a big change. So if approved or if supported in March, April, we would hope to do a communication / campaign outreach to notify those who would be affected and what to expect moving forward. And with that, the proposed change could be effective for what we're calling the summer cycle, in which we'd be advertising in April for those vacancies to make appointments in July. So you're seeing that expanded outreach there. All right, so just some key things that we would measure. How is this working? Some metrics to that we would be tracking. Of course, the applications received, the number of resignations received. Also tracking how many trainings are held and the attendance that we are getting for the trainings. Also, really thinking about how volunteers are brought to the table. So we're working currently on adding a question to the application form. How did you hear about boards and commissions? So hopefully that will provide more information and we can again target some outreach. Also using that member survey. I'll talk more at the end of this meeting about the survey, but using some base data from that. It was recently closed in January. So there I'll note that 79% of the members surveyed or who responded indicated that they would benefit from some additional training. Also looking at the qualitative data or the comments received about training, it's very clear that the current structure, it is inconsistent and based it varies from board to board. And then of course, we would come back, evaluate after a year or so, ask the committee how it's feeling, staff liaisons, board chairs, and stakeholders. Is this working? So yeah. I think. So that's what we are proposing, again, going from the monthly to quarterly, with the hopes that ideally we'd be making the process more efficient and effective, building in more time for those recommendations from chairs and boards, and providing for more robust training as well as expanded outreach. So
Okay.
that's what is being proposed.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Sarah. I greatly appreciate that. And okay, so we have a have a question, Kim. Councilwoman Rooney.
Sarah, thank you for bringing this. I really appreciated the way that you're looking at maybe moving at the speed of community on this. I think there's a lot of possibility, like you said, in having groups of people be an appointment together, and also an opportunity there to look at like cross work. For example, there's been a lot of conversation about the Downtown Commission, the Multimodal Commission, when they do those joint meetings, seeing how their scope overlaps and how they can support their advisory roles. But also, I think there's what I'm hearing is now that we're having some more in-person events, the chairs have missed the opportunity to gather together. And so that might be another way for us to build that community within our advisory boards, especially because we were looking at restructuring. And I think there was a bit of a morale dip, like why would I apply to an advisory board that's getting ready to be folded? So I think that this is another opportunity to say, hey, we're all in, we need your participation. But there's another added benefit. So I wonder, maybe when we bring this back for review, could we get a list again, or the same list that you're using for outreach, and then specifically look at monthly publishing dates? Because I'm thinking of like La Noticia, Urban News, some of our resources that folks use, we were missing deadlines, and by the time it would be in print, it's kind of pointless because we've already filled the vacancies. And what I would tell folks is, well, we keep your application on file for a year, but I think we have an important opportunity here to relook at those monthly publishing dates. And also whenever we have been doing in the past, I know with the Transit Committee, we did some work around making sure the notices were for English as a second language participants. And if we are in a position in the future of also having American Sign Language as an option for accessibility, then we can do another round of outreach for that updated information that we're now doing quarterly. We now have an extended application period. That's another way to get back on people's radar with new information to help like float to the top of folks' attention. So if we could just bring back that list of outreach and look specifically for monthly publication dates. And then the other thing is, are we still doing Equity 101 training for board members?
Currently, no. However, we've already connected with Equity and Inclusion team, and part of what the orientation would be regularly scheduled, Marcos would be there to give like the high overview. So that is included in every orientation as well.
Thank you, Sarah.
Do we have any more responses or questions?
So does that mean we would do an appointment on one Tuesday and then not the council meeting that night, but council would decide two council meetings later?
The way it's built right now, it's the same
Right.
day. However, that's a
good, yeah. That is
I was thinking about the part in the presentation where you said to allow more time to review the applications.
yeah.
So just-
I think
that's
that's
a
great.
very good point. I think so too, because that's basically when Sarah first told me about it. That was what I really liked about it, was giving us time to actually spend more time selecting the actual people for the board, so that way we could actually vet them, properly, and also we could communicate with them and sort of, get, and so that we can more or less have a better understanding. Not only for us, but for them, is what they're getting into and what's expected. So I'm really hopeful for this particular process. Thank you. Maggie?
I think that once the application period will be so long now, which is super, then that will give the staff, the clerk's office staff, more time to give council to review. So you won't just get it on Friday and have to make your decisions on Tuesday. You could get it a week and a half over a week ahead of time. And so council would have at least a week to review all those applications and then make the appointments on that upcoming Tuesday night. That might be another way to do it as well.
Okay.
Only just trying to keep it on track.
Okay.
And I did hear this, but I just wanted to bring that into the spotlight, that if we end up in a situation where we don't want our timeline to mean that advisory boards are having struggles getting a quorum. So if we do have a situation where there's a specific need, that we're prepared to address it. And I know, especially for our quasi judicial boards, that'll be a concern, but I certainly wouldn't want us to, while we're trying something new, not be a little flexible while we're settling in.
So let me
Absolutely.
understand that a little bit, because are you saying they can't make quorum because they don't have a certain number of members? What do you mean?
Yeah, so there's been issues in the past. I'm thinking of the transit committee only had 7 meetings last year. So if they have people leaving faster than we're filling because they don't even have meetings and people feel like they're not able to fully participate, then you get to a meeting and you don't have enough people because there's been a leakage of members.
But if those members left, then the quorum is based still on the number of members who are still active.
That is always my question. It's just not been my experience. So what has been happening is that we have told groups that we don't have a quorum because the members aren't showing up or aren't in the meetings, and then they have to meet to be able to remove members, but they can't remove members if they don't have a quorum. So it gets.
You're saying the members are active, they're just not showing up.
That has happened.
And that's why they're not making quorum.
So then you can't make the vacancies because you can't remove the members because you can't vote because you don't have a quorum.
we don't remove them, by the way. This body could remove.
Yes.
I mean, we could.
And the same thing could happen with, in that case, it's the multimodal and transit. But I don't think we've had as many issues. Human Relations Commission would be one where it's if they're having attendance issues in the most recent case because people didn't know they had been appointed. But if we're having attendance issues and it's leading to issues with quorum, I just wanted to make sure that we're keeping an eye on that, to make sure our processes are set up for people's success.
So while we're on that subject and not related to changing our times, isn't the rule if someone on a commission is absent or more, don't they have to attend 75% of the meetings? Do we have to do anything to determine if people actually do that? And maybe that's something we could take out of the chair's hands.
But so this is a good opportunity just to plug. So the 75% attendance rule is in the rules of procedures for all boards and commissions. And it says exactly that it must attend to 75%. How that staff is taking attendance in the clerk's office will ask for attendance from time to time, but there's not a real way to consider when it is time to remove members for lack of attendance. Right now, the practice is the chair or the staff member first reach out to the member. Is there any barriers to attendance? How can we help? And sometimes they may just reply with, I'm ready to resign. But if that doesn't happen, we don't have a clear way of removing them. So what we are doing currently is the clerk's office will write the letter. Please let us know if this is an error. You have been removed for missing X out of X meetings. But so it's a little gray right now for those reasons. One of our other not long-term, because this work plan for the clerk's office, we hope to bring forward our rules of procedures for boards and commission and clarify a handful of things that are actually in there, this being one of them.
So Sarah, I'm a little confused here. So basically you're saying that if someone does not fulfill, the 75% or whatever, and so you're saying that the chair of that board, that committee can actually vote to remove this particular.
First, we ask them to reach out
Yes.
to get an understanding why they're unable to attend. And then what it would come down to for removal is it'd be on the agenda for the committee to vote to remove the member for lack of attendance.
Okay, the committee is not us. You're talking about the committee of that particular.
Correct. Yes.
Or it could be us.
It could be. That would be great to define in the rules.
And that's one thing I will say that I would like it probably more or less that we do control that, because what happens on the boards, it could become contentious for members sometimes when they have to take that particular action. And I think that if it's something that actually the boards and commissions actually look into and make sure that, then it's coming from us and not coming from members of that particular board. So I think that is something we need to look into.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to ask though, I feel like I remember when I was on, I don't know which board, but there was also, while it's 75%, you could also have an excused kind of absence that doesn't, count against you if you're in the hospital or something.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Kim, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that I was thinking of, but also there's our advisory boards, and then there's the state mandated or quasi judicial boards. So for example, in the past, hopefully we don't have to do this again, Board of Education, we can appoint, but we can't remove. So might help me to understand, are there boards that we appoint members to that we can't remove? And usually that would be through some sort of legislation or resolution rules. So I know that, for example, the HRCA has a resolution in place. And so whenever we want to make a change there, we have to amend our own resolution, would be an example of where it gets there's different rules for different groups. And I get that there's why. I just want to make sure once we're moving to quarterly, if we're ready to be flexible if we find that folks are in a stuck spot, because I don't think that's the goal. The reason I bring that up, I know that it was our goal to make sure that a majority of members present could vote on whether or not they stayed virtual. And I'm just going to go ahead and give the example. The Human Relations Commission met in person, but didn't have a supermajority present to vote on whether or not they should be virtual. And one of the reasons was there are many barriers to meeting in person, including transportation or childcare. So the past two meetings of the HRCA, there have been two very young members of the committee there, which has been absolute joy. And it was very clear to me that we want everyone to be able to be at the table. And we also need to look at those barriers to participation and if childcare can be possible. Because I want everyone to be fully present. So I don't think it was our intention to force people not to be able to have virtual meetings with our goal. But what it resulted in is it made it really hard for people to participate, and they couldn't, their vote didn't count because they couldn't get a majority. So that's why I want to just make sure that our goal is at the front for people to be able to participate. Streamlining could be a really positive thing. Just maybe we could review it as we go, maybe a quarterly update afterwards or something like that.
Well, if we have no more questions, then of course we'd like to move on to Sarah to give us an annual update on the annual report.
The annual reports, yeah. So just a quick update. As the council's aware, the boards and commissions are required to submit an annual report to council every year. These are due at the end of January. So linked here in your agenda is the compiled reports, including when we pulled out the recommendations, just to make it to clarify the recommendations that are coming to city council. So this is just an update. I wanted to call some attention to that. Those were sent to the full city council. And that the full folder and everything can also be found on the boards and commissions webpage. So any thoughts or concerns?
I know the transit committee is going to submit a report. It ultimately goes up to the multimodal commission. That's just one example. Are we anticipating that other reports may come in where it says no report submitted?
Potentially, we did. We asked if there was a tentative timeline if they didn't submit, but to answer your question, yes, there could certainly be some added if they're not currently there. And if that were to happen, we could do a email saying this has been added, so you're notified.
Okay, because I know in the past we've seen Greenway Committee recommendations, and even though they're a subcommittee of multimodal, it's been in this list and it wasn't this time. That said, we have a very long list of recommendations here, and I'm very grateful.
So now we have no unfinished business, but we do have an informal discussion update on the realignment of the working groups by Sarah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So last update, I have been mentioning the board and commission member survey for the past month. It did close on January 31st. This survey went out to, as I had previously mentioned, to 350 some current and past up to 10-year board and commission members. We had a 62 or 64% response rate, which is excellent. So a lot of great information in there. I have linked the dynamic report, which is compiled by public input, just for an overview of results, but there's a lot of analysis to be done yet. The realignment working group is still meeting and has formed a subcommittee to do that deeper dive and analysis with the hopes and goal of making recommendations to council. So some TBD, we're still doing a deeper dive ourselves to see what can surface and if there's any recommendations for other revisions to be made. So a TBD for now, but it is a really informative report and we had some great responses with, I'll know, over 500 qualitative or comments in there. So some good reading.
Thank you, Sarah. And at this time, do we have any one in the speaker group?
We have no colors on the line.
Okay, and also at this time, do we have anyone else here on council that'd like to make any announcements or discussions or anything before we adjourn today? So, we're adjourned.
Thank you.